She's packing her bags and she's ready to go. Today we'll take a 1,500-mile road trip that has 4 legs. I'll introduce you to my new favorite way to route plan. I'll give you all the guidelines you need to road trip anywhere this holiday season and beyond. Pants. I'll give you a comparison and contrast between my Blazer EV SS and a Lucid Air Touring. And of course, I'll show you how to charge at all these networks. Yes, all of them in this video.
Information that has come for information.
So, without further ado, EV road trips. They are apparently so intolerable that manufacturers will take a car with a battery and add an engine and a gas tank, several thousand moving parts, soul-crushing complexity, oil changes and dealer visits, along with literally hundreds of extra ways for it to break down, just so people can avoid them. Hybrids and, how does the industry say them? I'm gonna puke. PHEVs and E-Revs wouldn't exist at all if it wasn't for the poor reputation of the EV road trip. And of course,
oil, that is, black gold, Texas tea.
Did we aggressively fight against some of the science? Yes.
So today I'll lay out the fundamentals of these supposedly dreadful EV road trips and provide several real-world examples of how my guidelines can help you. Here's the guidelines. Plan your trip, know your GPS, EV80 kit, don't be afraid to adjust, utilize your charging experience, and take what you can get. And of course, we have chapter markers down below. Feel free to revisit this video for future reference and make yourself at home. Ugh. Now I've said it.
This girl did this to every car she sat in, and her boyfriend couldn't take it anymore as she placed more and more stuff in his car.
And what better way to illustrate how all these guidelines can really help you in real time, in real life? I just took a 1,500-mile road trip in 2 completely different cars, both with very similar horsepower, coincidentally, and 2 completely different strategies for travel. Every one of these guidelines will come into play, along with many other tips and tricks, as we navigate unfamiliar networks, broken handles, spectacular spectacles, hazardous conditions, and whatever this is. It did work like that, by the way. Additionally, Brian and I got these vehicles around the same time, and both vehicles have about the same amount of miles on them, so even though it's my 8th EV and the EVOG's 10th, we definitely did some learning of our own along the way. First leg of the trip, I'm driving from Morgantown to Silver Spring to meet up with Brian. And that brings us to guideline number 1. Plan your trip. And because planning can be extremely complex or just skipped completely, I came up with an acronym for you. PANTS. Price, amenities, network, time, and style. And if you've been watching the channel, my charging video that dives very deep into the fundamentals of why charging is the way it is and how to do it from a very beginner's perspective goes through a demo of PlugShare. Most of us know PlugShare by now. If you don't, check out that video at this time marker. It is the most customizable, user feedback-based EV road trip solution. I've also demoed a better route planner, which is another fundamental resource to plan your EV road trips. But I've recently learned about an app called Chargeway, and since I rarely get an opportunity like this, let's demo Chargeway together, because one of its features just isn't available on any other app. This is my first time using Chargeway, but they say they've got dynamic pricing in here. So let's do this. I'm going to click add your vehicle. I've got the 25 SS. Continue. Oh, they've got some colors in here, do they? Look at that. It's cold as ice and the color of vanilla. So for now, we're going to go with
VIP.
I'm going to regret that. All right, battery is 50%. I would assume this is where you indicate your starting charge percentage. We'll find out if I'm wrong later. That's about where I start every time. Plug types. So Chargeway doesn't think I can use superchargers. Okay. I knew it. Yo VIP is going to be everywhere. Oh well.
Drop that 0 and get with the hero.
Turns out I need to go to the filters first, which is up here. Plug types and power levels. Blue says not compatible with vehicle. Red, select adapter to enable. So we'll go to adapters, and we want the level 3 to 7 red adapter. And let's go to advanced. Okay, it's hiding restricted stations, showing offline stations, and showing coming soon. Let's definitely end coming soon. All right, now we are in the business. Trips. Starting point, Morgantown. Destination. Okay. Departure battery, 75%. We've got temperature. Let's do like a 45. Minimum charge on arrival. 20 is definitely the way on the GMs. Okay, looks like a good route. It's got me 10 minutes of charging at the Clarksburg outlets, which is where I charged on the way back. And it says Electrify America. Okay. Ah, here we go. This little button here in the corner looks like it opens up the charging. And if you look along this route, there are just a ton of chargers. I got pricing, activation, we got amenities, look at that, and reviews. So nothing yet there. There's ChargePoint, again, pricing. All right, so what we want to do here is dynamic price. Looks like you can subscribe for 30 days without having to pay. Let's go to subscribe now. Okay. Help us personalize your Chargeway. Home, house, I own, level 2. Yes, continue. Connect your vehicle to Chargeway to complete your setup. What's that going to do? Okay, I don't know if I want to do that right now. Yeah, I want to exit that. The user exited Connect before granting your application access. I'm not really sure what kind of data they're going to sell, so let's just skip that for now. Now let's go to trips. Looks like adding stops to route needs to be done before we hit continue. Average speed 60 miles an hour. I like how it defaults to that. Let's get it going. Still telling me that same Electrify America. If I hit the little trip filter, now all these are up here. Let's say I wanted to stop at a supercharger instead. Okay, these are Ionna. The Ionna is red because it also has NACS. Good to know. See, it's even telling me to go there and it's 0 out of 4 available. I'm just not a fan. It's really busy. I was there yesterday. You have pricing listed, but it's not defaulting to the cheapest one. All right, so I've tapped around a little bit. Let me show you how I would plan a trip to Silver Spring based on my preferences. For price, I want the lowest price possible, but I will not do memberships. Memberships limit choice and encourage monopolies. And what if you pull into a full station and you have a membership, but you really need to deep charge? Now you've locked yourself into either paying for another membership somewhere else or losing value on your current membership. For amenities, restrooms are nice but not required every stop. I bring my own food. So most road trips, including this one, I brought my own food. More on that in a second. For networks, I dislike busy Electrify America stations, well, because they're busy, but because they're expensive, require membership to be price competitive, and do not offer plug-in charge for my vehicle. I like the convenience and speed of EVGo, which is really GM and Pilot stations, but the prices are literally insane. Other than that, I have no network preferences. For time, I don't like long stops. Once restroom, food, and any additional planning is completed, I like to go to the next one. Short, but many stops, which is why I don't need a restroom for every single one. Finally, as far as style, adventure over amenities. Something new is always available, and I don't need restrooms every time. If you stick to the same station every single time, you might miss out on something newer and faster, or a better selection, or is closer to the interstate. There are examples of this on that trip. In fact, as far as convenience and speed of EVGo, these Pilot stations are usually extremely reliable, but I have more on that for this video. So those are my charging preferences. Now that we know those, we can go to Chargeway and plan the trip. And here's how Chargeway works. I've done some clicking around and I think I've figured it out. If you notice, the car I've got, the Blazer SS, is a 6. And Chargeway uses this set of numbers, 1 through 7, to identify both cars and chargers. The fastest charging speed the Blazer can do is 190 kilowatts, which makes it a 6, which is 101 to 200 kilowatts. And you can actually sort by this. However, I don't recommend it because you'll lose basically every opportunity to find affordable charging. But if you're like Brian, whose preferences I'll reveal later in the video, and your goal is to just get there as fast as possible with as few stops as you can possibly make, you can go in and filter this way. Click on filters, and if you notice, it's all right here. You can drop all of them out except for 6 and 7, just like that. And now when you plan your trip and we go to filters, you're only going to get 6s and 7s. Except on this route, there are so few 7s in certain areas that they will fill in the gaps with 5s, which is another reason why I don't recommend filtering this way. But I recommend you just leave them in so you can at least see what is available. But that's why the Blazer is a 6. Brian's Lucid would be a 7, an Ioniq 5 would be a 7, but this is a 2025 model and it has an NACS port, which makes it red. A Volkswagen ID4 would also be a 6, and a Chevy Bolt is going to be a 4. Because 4 is 31 to 50 kilowatts. This is what I like to do right here. My battery is at 50. My charge limit is at 60. So now when I go to Friendsville and I select this unit, it's telling me that that 10% charge will be $3.47 and it's going to take me 20 minutes. How about 55 to 60? Let's go in again. We'll select this unit. Now, here we go. 10 minutes, $1.73. This is what I like to do. Friendsville would be 10 minutes. Let's go over here. This is an EVGo, and it's brand new. It's a Pilot Flying J. It's not going to be able to tell me how much money because this one charges by the minute. So Chargeway is not going to help you all the time, but it is expensive. Next, here's Frostburg. I go to my 5s. It should be exactly the same. We've got $1.73 in Frostburg for that same 10 minutes. Let's go down here to Cumberland. There is a supercharger. Now that 10 minutes is going to be $2.80. Cumberland Visitor Center. That's that same $1.73. The EV Driven Network is going to charge me. Up here is Rocky Gap. Here's the casino. It's going to be another $1.73. And if I wanted to do it all at the Maryland network, I can go over here. We can go to networks, select all, just do ChargePoint only. They're all going to disappear. There's Myersville. I can definitely make it to Myersville. It's 153 miles away. Perfect for a 75% departure because at 75%, I have 201 miles. So now let's look at Myersville as if it was my only stop for the trip. I go to my trips, I go to my filters, I go to networks, I make sure they're all selected so it will tell me the best possible trip, then I hit continue. Here's where you customize your state of charge, weather, average speed, and arrival preferences. This number is determined by your car. I hit continue, and it's going to tell me that same Electrify America, but the information I get here is exactly what I need. It's telling me 9 to 29%. I'm not going to worry about the time. So that means no matter how I charge or where, I need 20% battery to arrive at Silver Spring with 20%. So I can go back to stations. I go to my Yo VIP.
If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves. Yeah. Ice, ice, baby. Vanilla.
I'm at 80%, so I just go to 60. That's 20. And we go right back into Myersville, $6.94. That's how much it would cost me to get to Silver Spring, Maryland at 20% battery. Let's go down to that Clarksburg Mall that they keep wanting me to charge at. So the Clarksburg Mall would be $11.42. And there's going to be your difference between Electrify America and that Myersville, $6.94. So let's sum up how you use Chargeway. Once you get your car entered, there are some key features you want to be able to understand and use. First is your car. So I just click literally on the car. If you are searching for dynamic pricing, you just figure out what you want to do. If you want to know a 10 to 80% for your car, we can go to 10. We leave this slider here at the 80 and we're done under the car. So we hit the X on the top left. On the right hand side near the top, you have the search bar, which is how you would search for a destination or an area or a charger, whatever you're looking for, you search for it there. Next is the most important thing you're doing here. And if you notice, I have switched from 1 through 7 on the green to 3 through 7 on the green. And that's what I didn't do up to this point, but it's really important that you do it. And let me explain how the scale works. Level 1 is literally level 1 in real life. That's your 110 outlet. Level 2, anytime you see a 2 on the map, that is going to be a level 2 240 volt AC charger. That's what level 2 is. So if you are planning a trip, you can just easily eliminate all of those by going to the 3. With your adapters, they actually have different adapters for 1 and 2 and for 3 and 7. So you don't really have to do that. In the event you had both, you would have to do the slider, but obviously we're not trying to find out where the level 1 and 2 AC plugs are. So this is how your setup should look before you start dynamic pricing searches on a trip. And remember, that's done through the subscription. Right now they're giving you a 30-day trial. So if you're planning for the holidays, you can probably sign up for this in late November and cancel right before it renews in late December and be able to plan your Thanksgiving and Christmas travel for no charge with Chargeway. Now that we have it set correctly and all of our level 2 stations are gone, everything I see on the map now is going to be a fast charger. And this is definitely the most elegant of any app. I think PlugShare is probably better for more information and for real-time user reviews, but this is by far the most elegant. And we can go in and dynamically price. Here's that Myersville, 10 to 80%, $24.28 at that 34 cents per kilowatt hour. But if I wanted to go to an Ionna, the reason why Ionna isn't giving me pricing is because I get a GM discount and they might not know what that discount is. See, pricing is not 48 cents per kilowatt hour for me as a GM owner. There's another 24.28, but it's at a level 2. Notice that's a 2, and the 5 looks like it is either down or busy. Yep, it's busy, in use. So you got to watch that too. Here's another supercharger. $44.27, 10 to 80% in the middle of the day. So if you think that DC charging is too expensive, it's because you're not price shopping, and now there's no excuse. Clarksburg Mall, $39.98 at the Electrify America. Again, this one's going to quote you a level 2 because in use. $67. Look at that. Here's another 7. This is a Harris Teeter. So there's your Electrify America price. EVGo, there's your EVGo price. That same 10 to 80%, $42.84. Notice how that's almost twice as much money as this Myersville here, $24.28. Now you can go to trips. If I'm coming from Cleveland and I'm heading home, I am not leaving with 100%. I'm leaving with that same 75. It's about 50 degrees today, so 45 is fine. That's the selected route they gave me. It's got me one charge for 10 minutes at a Blink in Waynesburg. That says 49 cents per kilowatt hour, 48 at this Tesla, 60 at this EVGo. I've been to that one. Usually the 350s are offline. So if I go over here to this selected route, let's see what it does. This is a longer distance, and now it's going to have me charging at this Tesla supercharger, which is 50 cents per kilowatt hour. I'm sure it is right off the interstate. It is. It is right off. There's the exit ramp and there's the sheets. It's the first thing off the interstate. So that would be a really convenient stop, but again, it's still 50 cents a kilowatt hour. So do I recommend using this for a trip? Only to find out the number of kilowatt hours you would need. Right there it is. 10% to 36%, and that's for a 20% arrival. So when you want to plan your trip, fill this out to the best of your ability or move to the next step. Know your GPS. I got Google Maps right here. I typed in Silver Spring, Maryland. I hit directions. I like that route. I hit add charging. It picks the charging for me. And then right down here on the bottom left, it says send to car. That's all you have to do. So then when you get in, you have absolutely no choices you need to make. But in the event you want to plan, this is another place to plan. You go right up here to the top. You go to edit stops and you can delete the Electrify America station. Here's Myersville. ChargePoint charging station, Myersville. And then all I got to do is slide it up here. Done. It switched my charging stop to the ChargePoint and I'm ready to go. I just hit send to car and I'm finished. My navigation is set, at least for now. Let's head towards Silver Spring. I'm ahead of schedule and we have a planned departure from Maryland to avoid traffic later. I've got 200 miles of range with 62%. Do I need to stop? No, but I'm going to anyway. It's 1:59 a.m. Plug it in, 56 kilowatt, charge to at least 94%. I don't think so. My next charge will be somewhere in this area. Search this area. Let's do that one. Only 40 miles between stops, 206. I think it's probably time to go. $1.92 for 5% battery. We'll see you in 40 miles. Super Cruise is on, 55 miles an hour in the middle of the night. 254, let's see how fast I can fuel up. I've got 57%. Here's the on-ramp. 62%, added 5%, 306. All right, so that was the fastest pretty much on this trip I could have gotten on and off to get 5%, given the speeds of the charger. Now I'm at Rocky Gap, and we're going to use the restroom because there's not a restroom in Cumberland at 3 a.m. Grabbed an extra 5% while I was using the restroom. Let's go to the next one. Pulled in Hancock, Maryland, 57%, and it's 406, just turned. Right on the money. Let's do 5 more percent. Bingo. Time to unplug and go. 62. It's 411. Myersville is next, 40 miles. It's 501. Let's plug in. The Myersville stop wasn't necessary, but it was one of the EV-driven charge points I hadn't been to yet, so I definitely wanted to stop. It's right in the corner of a park and ride, and it's right off the interstate. Super convenient location, and I only ended up staying for 1 minute, but that's because I looked at my GPS and my arrival time now matched the time I wanted to be at Brian's. This is what I like to do anytime I have a set arrival for a long distance. I leave a couple hours to an hour and a half earlier than the GPS says I'm supposed to, and it gives me the chance to drive really slow. I know that sounds crazy. And I can also stop multiple times for very short periods, especially when I go east because the charge points I come to in Maryland are very cheap, but also pretty slow. I usually get between 50 and 75 kilowatts in the Blazer. So when I sit at one of these units for 20 minutes or so, I just don't feel like I've made a lot of progress. But stopping anywhere for 5 minutes is really easy to do. Additionally, using ChargePoint stations is really easy because all you have to do is add ChargePoint to your Apple Wallet and it just comes up. You double tap, select ChargePoint, touch to the unit, and it starts right away. You can also use EVGo to enable it, which is a big benefit because right now, every GM owner just got $80 that expires on December 31st. Check your EVGo account. Here's the email. Go to the 3 lines in the top left corner of your EVGo app, tap Payment and Billing, then Transactions. Your available credit balance will be listed right there. And if you're going to be traveling before the end of the year, you might as well use EVGo, especially if you have a GM. That $80 just disappears if you don't use it. I was shocked to see what my balance was. And then I got that email. Because I charged so many times, I arrived in Silver Spring with 34% to meet up with Brian, which was great because that's where my Blazer was going to stay until I got back a few days later. Because the rest of the day's trip was going to be in Brian's 2025 Lucid Air Touring. And now, of course, my acronym gets to pay off. Let's pull up the pants and look at Brian's Plan Your Trip preferences. And of course, some of Brian's preferences are literally the opposite of mine. For price, it's enable the membership and take the trip. The Lucid even has an Electrify America preference setting in the GPS, so we ticked that box, enabled the Electrify America membership, and set out. For amenities, this was really easy for Brian. Of course, we're on the I-95 corridor, which means there's tons of places with basically everything. But Brian has a few that he really likes that are right off the interstate for Electrify America and have every conceivable amenity. For network, obviously we're looking at Electrify America for the #1 preference, but if there's something that's more convenient and competitively priced compared to the EA membership, that's on the table too. As far as time, this one comes with a goal. We're going to beat the GPS. And we might as well beat his personal record for any EV taking this trip while we're at it. As far as style, the use case is very Lucid Air centric. This use case, from his home in Maryland to his home in Cape Cod, is the trip that prompted him to trade his Model S in for the Lucid Air Touring. We started with just over 380 miles at 100% charge, and the goal was only enough charging to get us there. We've got the efficiency, we've got the range, and we've got the massaging seats to supplement the long waits between stops. Once we were on the road, we worked on getting Brian's GPS in the Lucid to match up with his preference at Stratford, Connecticut at the EA station.
Hey Lucid, add a manual charging stop to my route.
Which location do you need?
Stratford, Connecticut. These are all close to where we are. Find a charger near Stratford, Connecticut. EVGo.
Trumbull, Bridgeport, Danbury, Stratford. And of course, we all know the major hiccup on any road trip when it comes to making time is the human bladder. I used PlugShare to find an Apple Green on the New Jersey Turnpike so we could try to charge during our stop.
All right, will our mystery unit work with the card reader? And that is a small little port, isn't it? It's just what you need. Got my credit card.
Let's go with a tap. And?
Oh, that is beautiful, man. That was freaking beautiful.
We made a quick restroom stop, and the charging ended up being the same price as our upcoming Stratford Square planned charge with the EA membership. In 5 minutes, we were able to pick up around 25 miles of range, and then it was on to Stratford, where we charged to 80% so we could finish our journey to the Cape. By using Brian's strategy of leaving at 6:30 a.m. from Maryland, we hit the city around 10 a.m., completely dodging rush hour and allowing us to make it to the Cape by around 4 p.m., which meant we could catch an absolutely beautiful sunset. The Cape was awesome. We didn't see any sharks, but we did see the bay, the links, the lighthouses, and of course, one seal. We also took a special trip to Boston to test drive a vehicle both of us had never gotten to be behind the wheel of, and that's a completely in-depth video you don't want to miss. Make sure you subscribe so you can catch it as soon as it goes live. And I know Shake Shack might not seem like a big deal to most, but it was my first visit, and of course, we had to check out some of the charging in the area before we left. We found these BP Pulse units near the airport. There were exactly 2 Alpitronic 400 kilowatt units with a total of 4 handles, so we gave them a shot. They were priced at $30, $40, $50, and unfortunately we showed up just as they kicked over to 50 cents. The Lucid wasn't preconditioned, so we only pulled about 80 kilowatts, but these were easy to activate just using a card. After 4 days on the Cape, it was time to head back to Silver Spring. Again, we left at 6:30 to avoid rush hour in the city, and the GPS said it would take around 9 hours and 15 minutes with a 3:54 p.m. arrival. Okay, it looks like we have one stop here. The one stop is EVGo, New Rochelle.
Not happening.
We will probably change that, but that's about the area we'll need to charge for the Lucid to be happy, but as you can tell, we'd still have some buffer there, 18% at arrival, so we may switch that up. So we deleted the charging from the route plan, revealing the end of our current range just after the city. We decided before the city was better, so it was off to Stratford Square again.
Yep, it is completely full. This is all we got. So we're here in the Lucid. We did from 6:30 to 10:14 a.m. and we've still got 88 miles of range, but this is the first and only convenient charger.
And of course, the station was full, save for one unresponsive stall that we initially pulled into. Luckily, someone pulled out of a functional stall just as we were parking, so we moved to stall 5 to get a charge. This is definitely the best example of take what you can get that I had on this trip. The stalls were full, the one unit that was open wouldn't start. On top of that, when the Lucid reached 65%, the charging just ended. But Brian had already grabbed breakfast, and we both got a chance to use the restroom, so we decided to call it good enough and continued on. But that also meant we were going to have to charge one more time before we got to Silver Spring, and it was challenging.
All right, so this is how fast it is to do an apple green.
Log in and start.
We got a CCS and an NACS. Okay. Got it. Try again. Well, should do it. Payment in progress. Okay, so this connector is busted over here, which you can see. So we're gonna try this. This thing is an NACS on one side, CCS on the other. And it's actually just a CCS with an adapter, so we have an adapter in an adapter. And it's charging. So, no big deal.
And the timestamp doesn't lie. Here's our arrival efficiency. I took this photo 2 minutes before our predicted arrival time in Brian's driveway. We got a couple photos to commemorate the achievement, and it was time for me to head out. We experienced some wind and rain, but even so, 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour is extremely good for making time that beats the GPS.
Take me home.
All right, let's go.
2 charging stops, 35%. 1 hour and 1 minute of charging.
Obviously, my trip home was going to require more charging because I was only at 34%. But what's significant here is it says I need an hour of charging. This is why I don't do long stops in the Blazer.
First of all, where are we charging at? Mercedes-Benz in Clarksburg for 51 minutes. Arrival 27%. I've never been to one of those. And then it's got Friendsville. I like that. Let's go. Google just gave me a route change. I have no idea what it did. Destination time is orange, so probably some traffic since we're on at rush hour. I'll check in at the charger. All right, here we go. More Alpitronics. We got the Mercedes, but then over there, we have EA. So we're gonna do Mercedes. It's telling me to charge to at least 89%. That's not gonna happen. But we have, right now, let me press my button. Right now we have one car at the Mercedes, but the EA over here is basically completely full. What I've learned with this thing is you take it out of here and you literally plug it in right there. That's my best way to do it. This is Mercedes. I don't know how this is gonna work, but we're gonna try it. Those are harder in the cold than they are in the warm. Now I'm plugged in. Let's see what it says to do. So I just used the debit card. We're good to go. Preparing session, preparing power delivery. There it goes. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 95, 103. Yeah, we're gonna have a good session here. So all I did was walk down here and use the restroom, and then we're gonna leave and we're gonna find out how much more charging it's gonna make us do. This is the Clarksburg Premium Outlets. And if the curve makes sense, we're out of here. We had our huge taper. We're doing 103. Running cost $964. I have no idea how much these cost, but I figure we're good. I'm just gonna stop, unplug. Yeah, and we're
keeping it moving. And you don't have to follow the rules of your GPS. It told me to charge to 89. I only charged to 47. So what do? We just clear it out, start over. I'm trying to locate an Ionna charger in Middletown.
Sorry, I didn't understand. Now, so Google can improve, it would help to know how satisfied you are with my response. How would you rate it, if 1's the worst and 5's the best?
1. Navigate to Ionna in Middletown.
Okay, Ionna charging station. Here we go.
Bingo. All right, howdy ho, there they are. Let's pull into one. Shouldn't have to do anything else. Kicked right on, let's do the ramp. So I'm just gonna ride this till it tapers. It should take a really quick taper here. We're at 41%. While I'm waiting, we are going to head for home. And what's it got? EVGo, Hagerstown. I don't want to do that. End of battery range looks like Cumberland. Hey, logo, add Rocky Gap ChargePoint to my navigation.
There's a ChargePoint charging station 63 miles away. Navigate to that one?
Yep, Rocky Gap. 140, 45%. I'm thinking we just stop at 50. As soon as we hit 50.
The Middletown Ionna station is really nice with plenty of amenities, including a nice Italian restaurant and Mexican. I would definitely stop here again.
There's 50. There's our charge curve. Not bad. All right, back on the highway. We're super cruising. I've got 71 miles till I get to Rocky Gap, and I like stopping. I like stopping early and often. Hey, Logu, can you show me the next ChargePoint station along my route?
Just got it. ChargePoint charging station 34 miles away.
Hancock. There we go. So all looks well here, just riding along on the interstate, but what we don't know is what's coming. The snow has already hit where I live, and I have no idea what the weather's going to be like, but I'm about to go into the mountains and find out. So that's why you stop at all these chargers, because charging more might be a big benefit. 2 hours ago, it was 60 degrees. It's not super late at night, and I've never been to Big Pool, but there's an Exxon here that it always adds to my GPS, at least it used to before Rivian bought a better route planner. So maybe we'll check it out. I've driven past it 100 times, but I've never been here. Let's see if it works. So the brand is Free Wire.
I tried the left side a couple times and it didn't work, and then I remembered that on PlugShare, it's been noted the left side is broken several times, so I moved to the right side.
All right, here we go on the other side. We've got CCS and Chatamo, so these are some Nissan Leaf, old school Leaf friendly places. Man, this is a heavy cable. It's in there. Let's see what happens now. Start. Step 1 of 2.
The support number on the screen says EV Connect. So I tried to use the My Chevrolet app, which has plug-in charge enabled, but this is obviously an EV Connect network, not native EV Connect. So even though it says available in the app and I'm able to attempt to connect, it didn't work.
All right, so I had to authorize my card. It looked like it started working, or at least it's locked to charge port, preparing. We're gonna see how fast it is. There's my startup. Let's go check it out. Looks like it's doing it in increments. We're over 100. I will do, what, 3%? As soon as we hit 43, we'll stop charge. So the reason to stop at Big Pool, this west ramp right here, back on the 70, is 800 feet from where you pull out of there.
Continue on I-70 West.
Since I did Big Pool, I don't think I need to do Hancock, so we can probably just skip it. It's that easy. I got 126 miles of range. I'm about 100 miles from home. I could potentially make it without charging. But remember, I've got a ton of elevation to climb, another thing you want to look at when you plan, or at least while you adjust. Don't be afraid to adjust.
5 minutes later.
And now all the variables present themselves. Ice, drive with care. I've got 107 miles of range all of a sudden, and haven't gotten that far down the road. So that's why you have to stop and charge. All right, made it to Rocky Gap. We're down to 34 degrees, so it is definitely colder out. I'm bundled appropriately. Press my button. I think we'll go ahead and enable it on EVGo. It'll be free that way. We will do that. Let's pull it out first. There we go. Plug this in like normal. See if we can get her to go. Yes we can. It's not elegant, but it works. I got the urge to use the bathroom, so whatever I get when I use the bathroom, that'll be it. And remember, it was 60 when I left Maryland, but now we are obviously experiencing some snow as I walk towards the Rocky Gap Hotel. Just got back in the car, now I'm at 33%, which is perfect. We'll just keep on trucking. 4% on arrival. All right, we'll either fix that in Frostburg or Friendsville. I'll decide shortly. The snow is now accumulating on the road, so I'm gonna have to be careful here. Now there's a break in the weather. It's dry with no snow. It's Big Savage Mountain, 2,800 feet. Snow is definitely stuck to the ground here. I have no idea what the conditions are. We're down to 25 degrees. I forgot there is a Pilot Flying J in Grantsville. Hey, look, find a Pilot Flying J along my route.
Got it. Pilot Travel Center.
Bingo. Grantsville. Let's see if it adds it. Hands free. There we go. 11 minutes, we'll be in Grantsville. Low battery, find charging stations. Luckily, I'm at a charging station, so won't have to worry about that too much. Let's get plugged in. Looks like we've made some progress on the second one. This one worked and the other one didn't. We're at 20%. It's kicked on. Didn't have to do anything. Got Auto Charge Plus. Yeah, 90 kilowatts. Yeah, we're gonna be fine. I'm just gonna go in and grab something. All right, back in the car. It says home is 13%. That's good enough for me. We're at 32. Okay, now I'm into the nasty stuff. I've got slush and ice and snow right at the West Virginia border, and I can't wait to see what comes up next. The rest of the trip was pretty white-knuckle touch and go, and I did encounter a couple vehicles that were off in the median and had lost control. Needless to say, I drove very slowly from the West Virginia border to home. My arrival state of charge was 16%, and I showed up at 9:58 p.m., which was about an hour after the GPS thought I would. My efficiency was not bad for a 615 horsepower SUV, 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour for the round trip. And most of what I gained from reducing my speed was lost to poor weather conditions. The big news for the trip home was the charging. I charged for 35 minutes for just about $30, using 66 kilowatt hours, which was 45 cents a kilowatt hour total after tax, or 10 cents per mile, and 25 minutes less than my navigation recommended. The reason I didn't have to charge as much as Google recommended is because the Blazer's charge curve is almost unacceptable deep in the pack. It's competitively high when you first start charging at 190 kilowatts, but steadily tapers off, and by the time you get to 60%, well, I don't like it to get to 60%. So because my stops were short, I got a pretty high charge rate for basically all of my charging. I averaged just under 114 kilowatts for the entire round trip. And now I guess is the time we can talk about gas. This trip for this part of the country was indisputably cheaper than gas, even with my Blazer SS. Big Pool Exxon, which is halfway between Washington, D.C. and where I live, had a price of $3.19 a gallon on the day I published this video. I did 413 miles round trip, and at that price, a gas car would have to break 35 miles per gallon to even challenge the Blazer as far as cost, which I don't think is achievable because of the weather. Remember, gas cars lose range in bad weather too. But factually, an average SUV 25 miles per gallon would have to spend $52 on gas. If you have a newer, more efficient SUV, you're looking at $44. My total for the round trip was $40.02. By price shopping and running my first half of the trip at the Maryland EV Driven Network at 34 cents per kilowatt hour, I was able to just beat gasoline. There's no argument here. Also, my longest stop was 13 minutes. And even though I made 10 stops, all of them were less than 10 minutes except for one. You see, I have trouble figuring out what the argument is when it comes to the aversion to EV charging. Is it the long wait that you don't like? Because I didn't do any of those. Or was it the price? Because my trip was cheaper. For Brian's legs of the trip, it's even less of a valid argument. After tax, his round trip total rounds up to $80. His total mileage rounds down to 1,020. That's 7 cents per mile. Gas in Connecticut, right beside where we charged, is $3 a gallon right now. Which means, even at 35 miles per gallon highway, Brian's Lucid Air is cheaper to road trip than anything that runs on gas in 2025. And aside from a lack of lane centering in his trim, the Lucid Air Touring is the absolute ultimate value for money when it comes to road trips. His lease is cheaper than the payment on my Blazer, so it's not really an expensive car to own either, which brings me back to the pants. The Lucid wins on time and price. The Blazer wins on style and network. The GM discounts from Ionna, the bonus money I just got from EVGo, the $750 I got from EVGo when I bought my Prologue, the plug-in charge with so many networks, the Google integration, and of course the Super Cruise make road tripping very simple. However, the Lucid will get you there faster, more affordably, and more comfortably. Thigh extensions and massaging seats add a ton of luxury, but I'd say the driver has a better deal in the Blazer, with Google and Super Cruise, and the passenger definitely has a better deal in the Lucid, with more comfort and obviously earlier arrival time. So, in 2025, are EVs cheaper than gas? Yes. If the lowest price is your only metric, EVs can win every time with a little bit of effort. Can they get you there in a reasonable amount of time? Absolutely. The fastest recorded 10 to 80% time that I've seen on the internet for the Blazer is 49 minutes. And yet I had to put 70% of my battery back in it to make it home, and I was able to do it in just 35. And we all know GMs are not fast charging cars. So my Blazer is almost a worst case scenario. On the other end, Brian's car can add 160 miles of range in 23 minutes. That's 2.5 hours of driving. And maybe the problem is there's just not enough chargers. Well, I want to point out again that we drove 1,500 miles on 9 different networks and never even pulled into a supercharger. And if you want to dive deeper on that, I made an entire video about EV, gas, and hybrid and which one you should choose. But what about those initial guidelines? Well, Plan Your Trip I think was covered pretty well by introducing you to Chargeway, which is a brand new resource that allows you to look at charging stations from a pricing perspective. As far as EV80 kit, when we pulled into Stratford on the way back from Cape Cod, the reason we knew charging stall number 1 didn't work at the Electrify America was a volunteer in the stall beside us. They rolled their window down. They said, hey, this one doesn't work. We've called them and we couldn't get it to go either, which is almost exactly the same time as someone noticed we needed to charge and pulled out so we could charge. We made a ton of adjustments during our route, from deciding to pull off the New Jersey Turnpike and using both of those stops at an Apple Green to charge, to me deciding to try all new networks on the way home from my trip. And if you didn't notice, my last 3 stops, the Exxon at Big Pool, the ChargePoint in Rocky Gap, and the EVGo in Grantsville, all had one stall down, or at least I couldn't get them to work at the time. But I got a successful charge at every stop. On Brian's legs of the trip, we either got food or used the restroom or both at every charging stop, and I was able to grab food, coffee, and restroom breaks from my stops as we went forward. We even went into Marshall's and did some shopping at Stratford Square on the way to the Cape. And take what you can get is kind kind of the strategy that I use when I'm driving in the Blazer. As soon as I go under 120 kilowatts, if I know there's charging available ahead, I just move forward. Yes, it has a little bit of time to get on and off the highway between stops, but I don't have to sit anywhere for a long time and watch the kilowatts just drop off. I really hope this video was helpful, and I would really appreciate if you could share some of your charging experiences you've had in 2025 down in the comments below. Let's start a conversation. And that's a look at charging and road tripping in 2025. Let me know your thoughts and any questions you might have down below, and let me know what you want my next video to be about. Join Patreon or become a YouTube member for early access to videos, and subscribe for more. We'll see you on the next one.
Hey, smash the like button.
Thank you.